Hello everyone. I know that there is already a lot of information on stress available online. It's a topic that is widely discussed, but today I want to talk about something more personal, our own personal stress reaction cycle and why it is so important to become intimately familiar with it. Now, when stress starts to influence our lives in such a negative way that it becomes difficult to function normally or find joy, it is time to stand still and assess what is going on. Now, there are two important things we might want to discover about ourselves at that moment in time. Number one, in what stage of stress am I at this current moment? Now, those stages of stress we are not going to discuss in this video. That will be a subject for the next video. But number two, what is my personal stress reaction cycle and how can I escape it or complete it successfully and go back to homeostasis as quickly as possible? That is what we are going to talk about. So as I said, I want to talk about this personal stress reaction cycle today because it is much less talked about than the stages of stress. And it is important because the better we understand our stressors, that what triggers us, the easier it will become to manage them, to distance ourselves from them, and to observe them mindfully. Now, the most fundamental thing to understand about our stress is that it is not just a one-time event with one cause and one reaction. Every event in our environment, from our phone ringing to the weather to our children not behaving, has some sort of impact on us. And the impact of the event sets a cycle in motion, what we call a stress reaction cycle, which has many phases, which automatically means that there are also multiple opportunities to escape or to interrupt this cycle. Now, we all know, of course, that we are not able to control all our circumstances in order to have nothing stressful ever happening to us during our lives. But we can change the way that we respond to stress when we learn to understand our personal stress reaction cycle. So, what is this cycle? Now, step one in the cycle is that external stressor, some sort of triggering event. And this is actually the only part of the stress reaction cycle that our mind and body do not play a direct role in, because this is something that is from the outside in and not from the inside out, because that event will happen, whatever state of mind we are in. But what happens next is connected to us as a person. Step two, which is called the internal appraisal. This is the way that we perceive that event. Because what may be a trigger or stressful to you may be a complete non-issue for me, and vice versa. So when we talk about the stress cycle, in that stress cycle, that trigger is perceived as a threat. And when our senses detect something that is perceived as a threat, a signal is sent to our amygdala. And when the amygdala is triggered, it then sends a signal to the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, to other sections of our brain responsible for maintaining homeostasis, for bringing back the balance in our body. Now, they both communicate with the rest of the body through our autonomic nervous system. And that is, of course, the part of our nervous system that regulates all kinds of processes in our body that occur without us being very consciously aware of them, such as our heart rate, our blood pressure, our metabolism, our breathing, and our sleep cycle. And this brings us to step 3, our physiological response. So once the hypothalamus and the pituitary receive that threat or danger signal, they activate our sympathetic nervous system. And that is the half of our autonomic nervous system, the active half, the nervous, stressy half, that rules our flight or fight response. So up to this point, most of these responses are more or less outside of our control. But the cycle continues. Step 4, internalization. We start to become aware of our response to stress because of the way it is being expressed physically in our bodies. For example, you might feel that your heart is starting to race, or you have palpitations. You can feel a pit in your stomach, tightness of the chest. We can have an upset belly that forces us to go to the toilet. Or we feel that our jaws or the muscles in our neck are tensing up. Our back starts to ache. Now, at the same time, this is also the phase where our thinking mind becomes involved and starts to worry and ruminate, or where we become anxious because we feel like we are out of control due to these physical reactions that we have no control over. Which means there's a new link created. So either a new trigger is created, or the old trigger is reinforced in our brain. Now, if we cannot escape this cycle before step 4, then step 5 is the completion of the cycle, which means return to baseline, back to homeostasis, this condition of optimal functioning, the best condition for our body, balance or an equilibrium. So once a stressor has been successfully avoided or neutralized, our parasympathetic nervous system starts to undo this stress response by sending out new signals, telling our body to calm down. Our heartbeat and breathing slow down, causing our muscles to relax. Our digestive system goes back to the position of rest and digest. Now, in Sophrology, we help people to become aware of their body's responses, where they feel the stress in their bodies, where the triggers or the trauma is expressed. Because the more we become aware of the signals that our bodies give us, and the sooner we become aware as a form of early detection, the sooner we can escape our personal stress reaction cycle. And this will ultimately lead to a different, more neutral perception of events and a smaller amount of triggers in our daily lives, which automatically means a smaller amount of stress. See you next time. Bye.